The man who drugged Hitler, Dr. Theodor Morell. Dr. Theodor Morell, Adolf Hitler's personal physician, drugged him for many years with highly addictive substances. Morell's dope could be the cause of Hitler's insanity and deteriorating health. In the Nazi ideology, drugs were seen as harmful poisons that pollute the body. The Nazi Party used this analogy and went one step further and dictated that Jews are like drugs to German society, and Nazi propaganda portrayed Hitler as a teetotaler. The Fuhrer was marketed as a pure vegetarian, and a non-alcoholic who was free of any drugs. When the Nazi Party came to power, concentration camps started to fill with drug addicts. Still, drugs saw wide use in the German Army, Air Force, Navy, and hypocritically by Hitler himself. Introduction to Hitler. Dr. Theodor Morell was a famous gynecologist in Berlin who treated politicians and celebrities. Morell got a call from the Nazi SS office to come immediately to their headquarters to treat Heinrich Hoffmann, the principal photographer of Hitler. Morell treated Heinrich Hoffmann with some quack solution in the form of injection, and he felt better. For that incident, Morell became the personal physician of Heinrich Hoffmann. Heinrich Hoffmann introduced Morell to Hitler on a casual dinner. Hitler complained about his stomach aches when he had a heavy meal. Morell suggested an injection of glucose and vitamin to treat the problem. Hitler obliged, and Morell gave him the injection, which cured Hitler instantly. Morell's cocktail was glucose and vitamin, and had some trace of meth, which subdued the pain. Personal physician. Hitler was impressed with Morell and made him his physician. Hitler received multiple injections of multivitamin components, glucose, and other performance-enhancing drugs from 1940 on. Most of them are highly addictive drugs. Morell also utilized his position and marketed his multivitamin biscuits and drugged chocolates to SS officers. Hitler, before any important meeting, had an injection from Morell to pep him up. SS and army officers who also need to be energetic up to Hitler's level injected themselves with the same medicine. Morell was rewarded with a posh apartment looted from a Jewish family at a cheaper rate for his contribution. Morell was always next to Hitler and boasted that he was the only person who saw Hitler every day. Every dramatic decision of Hitler, like the Poland invasion of Russia, the response to D-Day, etc., occurred under the heavy influence of drugs. Hitler's drug usage. When the invasion of Poland started, Hitler moved his headquarters close to the front line, and Morell followed him. The train in which Hitler traveled halted so that Morell can inject Hitler with a dose of meth. Hitler was high on meth and continued the war in Poland. Meanwhile, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, who came to meet Hitler, was also treated by Morell. Hitler's inner circle tried to remove Morell. Still, as Hitler had become an addict to Morell's drugs, it was impossible to remove him. On the day the Nazi leadership met to finalize the details of Barbarossa, the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union, Hitler received a double dose of methamphetamine from Morell. The meth boosted up Hitler's fake confidence, and he discussed with his generals, who were astonished by his energy. As Morell grew ever closer to Hitler, it became difficult for him to spend time with his wife. When Allied forces landed in Italy, Mussolini wanted to discuss Italy's future with Hitler. Hitler was too tired, and the usual meth was not sufficient to keep him energetic. Morell decided to inject a much more potent drug on Hitler, morphine. Morphine is a derivative from opium, and it is highly addictive. Once doped up, Hitler was able to convince Mussolini to continue the war against Allied forces. Morell used his closeness to Hitler and gobbled up pharma companies in the Ukraine, which the Nazis conquered, and used them to manufacture components from animal organs. Hitler's morphine injection rate increased to 3 injections a day. He started to develop itchiness, and lines in his arms were the injections punctured. Hitler's immunity system collapsed utterly, and he was in a mental madness when he ordered the Second Ardennes offensive, which led to the Battle of the Bulge. Hitler started to develop uncontrollable shivers in his left hand and partially lost control of his left leg. The Fuhrer looked older than his age, due to the cocktail of chemicals injected by Morell. Hitler's energy maintained by drugs motivated many to believe Hitler might pull a magic weapon and win the war. End game. As Allied forces closed in on Berlin, Morell ran dry on drugs and tried caffeine injections for Hitler. Hitler was infuriated and fired Morell immediately. After the war was over, Morell was captured by US forces and interrogated on the possibility of Morell's action to poison Hitler. Morell's account was not consistent. The US Army released him in 1948, and he died the next year. Morell, a quack practice doctor, made Hitler a drug addict and fogged his decision-making skills. His drugs indirectly helped the Allied forces win World War II.